Hello and welcome to McHale. This morning we're in the McHale Training Centre and I'm joined by Eamon from our research and development team who was involved in the design and build of the Tedder. So the Tedder is a new product to McHale. The machine we're looking at this morning is the M6770. So Eamon, I have the Tedder fitted to my tractor, linkage all on, top link on, PTO on, and my two hydraulic supplies. PTO speed, 540 system, where do I need to be?
540 is the maximum RPM. For a good TED quality, we will be looking for a speed of around 480 RPM.
Lovely. Hydraulic point of view, powered up, powered down. Do I operate in a power down or a flotation position?
Okay, well we have two double-acting supplies to the machine. So the first supply is for lowering the rotors to the ground, and this supply can be set up as flotation or powered down completely.
Personal choice.
Personal choice. You can push the rams all the way out. It'll leave the back end of the ram in the center of the slot, and the machine will do its own flotation from there independent.
Tine height or tine position from the ground when I'm ready to work in the field. Different people have different ideas.
So the principle of this design is that you set up with a long top link setup, lower your lift arms completely. The lift arms don't carry any weight. They just trail the machine, and what you want to do is adjust your top link to the point where you have 250 millimeters of ground contact with the tines. So as the tine rotates, you will get a mark on flat ground of 250 millimeters. And once you achieve that, then you want to drive forward and check your ground contact. If you're too deep, you lengthen your top link. If you're too shallow, you shorten your top link. But as I said, the tractor is not carrying the weight. It's done between the triangle of the top link and the linkage bars down here. So we also have these linkage stabilizer bars.
Yes.
They perform two purposes. They keep the machine stable in operation so that the machine doesn't sway from side to side and go out of control. And then when you're on road transport, once you lift the lift, they compress right back in and they stabilize and center the machine behind the tractor.
That was one feature I found very good when operating the machine, that when you came to the headlands and you lifted your Tedder, or when you were folding up and ready for road transport, there was no getting out, there was no changing position, there was no dropping in pens. You were ready for off.
It's just lift up and it self-centers.
Looking at the rotors, we're on the hook tine system. We're running on 7 tines per rotor. Why go for this design?
We found the hook design was very good, especially in very heavy crops, but across all crops, for separating rows, for separating swaths, tedded swaths, or even a non-tedded swath that would be very matted together. The hook tine gets into it and rips it apart and gives it a good ted.
Also, contamination, soil contamination now is a big subject. Is the hook tine better for less soil contamination?
Well, as you're not driving the tines down straight like a fork, you're not pulling across as much contamination. Your tines tend to be floating across the ground, and the upper tine doesn't contact the ground at all.
We've got a lot of wheel adjustment height on this machine. Reasons for that?
There's 5 height adjustments for work. The 2 lower adjustments will be for a first pass TED.
Keeping the machine quite flat?
Keeping the machine quite low and getting right down to the bottom of the grass, making sure you get the entire swath lifted off the ground. As you wilt the grass and you get closer to making hay, you can raise up the machine for more aeration and
more of a tilt
and more of a throw to get the crop up higher and more fluffed up.
We have the Headland management system here. Just talk me through it a little.
So we have a curtain. It's hydraulically operated from the other spool on the tractor, and it can be dropped down on the move. So as you're passing by the boundary of the field, you drop down the curtain and it gives you a margin all the way around the field where you're not throwing grass or any of your crop up on the fence or up on walls or over.
Yeah, quite a nice feature. I've seen using the machine last summer that even if you had like a tree or telegraph pole, you can move the material out maybe a half metre, so it makes it much easier for the rake when you're following. We'll walk around the rear of the machine and we'll have a look at some of the rear features.
Okay.
So looking at the rear of the machine, we see there's a lot of guarding, and the outside bars here are flexible, which is quite good for contact with any gate post or anything. Talk to me about the rest of the guarding on the machine, Eamon.
So the rest of the guarding, the rotors are all covered at the front. They're all greased pivot points. The road safety latches for road safety, so if there's any hydraulic issue, the latches mechanically hold the machine.
From a maintenance point of view, I can see every pivot point on the machine has a grease nipple and a bushing, quite easy to get at, very easy to access. Looking at the driveline, the main gearbox and the rotor gearboxes, what's involved in maintaining them?
Well, the centre T gearbox in the middle of the machine, you would have an oil change once a year, and then each of the rotors have a half a litre of grease inside the gearbox, and it's a sealed gearbox, so it doesn't require daily greasing. Maybe a top up once a year just to make sure there's fresh grease in there would be sufficient.
Brilliant. So that completes the walk around on our mounted Tedder, Eamon. Talk to me about the trail models. We have two trail models.
We have two trail models. We have an 8 rotor and a 10 rotor model. The same 7 tine arm rotors, same gearboxes. The 8 rotor is 10.2 metres and the 10 rotor is 12.6 metres working width.
Nice machines. We operate them there during the season. They work very well. They're in a trail mode but sit on the linkage arms. Main idea for that?
Manoeuvrability, transport manoeuvrability, getting in and out of some farms can be difficult, and they travel better.
The double option, you can lift and lower, and you can tug the machine around a little bit tighter.
Yes.
Very good. So I hope you found this of benefit. Thank you very much for your time.